Happy lunch hour, gang. All right, even though I'm about an hour late by the time this gets up, but that's because I've been watching everything that's been going on in Los Angeles and trying to see if they have any facts coming out. If you didn't see what happened or haven't paid attention much this morning yet already, there was an explosion at the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department compound, I guess to call it. This is a area where they've got everything from the motor pool to they store all the bomb disposal trucks to the training areas to everything. So this is a huge compound. And about 7:30 this morning local time, so it's about 10:30 my time, hence the reason I was paying attention to this here recently, you had an explosion in the EOD, Explosive Ordnance Disposal, area that killed 3 Sheriff's Department employees. I've been paying attention to it to see if they give any sort of information as to what. And I'm not going to jump out and say this was anything nefarious. Okay, so if you think I'm breaking that or something, that's not going to happen. We're only 2 hours after this has happened so far. So as I was just finishing watching some news reports, they're just about to go in. The bomb squad, the LAPD bomb squad, is going in to make sure everything there is inert and it's safe, because there's 3 bodies lying in the parking lots, if you will. Somebody apparently did go in and cover them with sheets or whatever. The explosion was powerful enough that it blew out windows out of cars, squad cars nearby. So this wasn't something little. But the reporting already is a little questionable. Now, I'm not saying the reporting out of the LASD at all, okay? But you can tell if you listen between the lines as to what the newscasters are thinking. They're not sure either, because one of the things was, well, this is where they move, this is the bomb squad area. This is where they'd be moving explosives. You don't store explosives in a truck overnight and say, oh, we'll just deal with it in the morning. Doesn't work that way. They said, well, maybe they were getting ready for a training exercise. They're not training with live explosives that would blow up vehicles, kill people at the radius at which these people were, or blow out car windows that are that far away. So something seriously went wrong. Something was there. Who knows what at this point? And like I said, I'm not going to speculate as to what happened. But we know what's going on in California right now and the absolute love of the police department, right? They have already contacted the Department of Justice and the Attorney General's office. Pam Bondi has already replied to this. They have already said they are opening a criminal investigation. So that also leads me to think this isn't just an accident. Don't know, okay? But it's something to pay attention to. But that's not the only thing that's going on, okay? If you caught wind of what happened overnight in New York, in Manhattan, okay? You had a man who was stopped by NYPD for driving a vehicle full of propane tanks, and he had a food truck that was behind his vehicle that detached. Obviously, the guy didn't know how to hook up a trailer correctly, and crashed into another vehicle. Now, I'm going to try to pronounce this. The driver's name was Syed Khalid El Syed Abdel Mohsen. I'm thinking he wasn't going to the local taco truck. Okay. So he had his white cargo van full of, get this, 75 propane tanks, 76 propane tanks, 75 gallons of gasoline, and 10 gallons of diesel. Now, you can carry propane in a vehicle in New York City, no problem. You have to have a permit to do it. And you can only carry so much. There's a whole lot of businesses, food trucks, okay, or anything like that, that need propane. You know, go buy a slice. The guy's cooking pizza on the side or whatever. Apparently, this guy was servicing a lot of the Middle Eastern ethnic food trucks, okay? And that could be a multitude of different cultures, if you will. But he was running around way over the limit on what he was allowed to carry. Could that be nefarious? Maybe. We don't know yet. Is it dangerous? Absolutely. So you could maybe say this guy had the intention to pull a Oklahoma City, or the guy could have just been a complete moron. My guess is a little of both, but probably the second one. I'm going to err on the side of caution here and say, okay, the guy was just an idiot. He's probably running some sort of illegal business, and he's probably cheaper and more friendly, if you will, to the food truck operators, and deliver this stuff a little cheaper to them, so they do it. And it's like, hey, you know what? I'll just skirt the laws. You look at the pictures of these propane tanks, okay? You know when you go buy propane for your barbecue grill, and it's got that little either blue or red plastic cap over the end? That's not there to be pretty. That's there for safety, okay, to keep the contents from leaking out. It doesn't take but one of those to leak and any sort of spark. You know, some guy with a cigarette, boom, and you take out a city block in Manhattan. Okay. Could you imagine waking up to that story? Like so many people woke up to the story in Los Angeles. That wouldn't have been 3 people. That would have been hundreds. But we don't know. The whole point of this is where our minds have gone because of this craziness that is, was it 800% rise in attacks on ICE agents, the defund the police, the allowing terrorists into the country left and right, everything that's happened. Be honest with yourself, because I'll tell you flat out, the first thing I thought of when I heard the LA story was, oh God, here we go again. This is some pro-Palestinian or pro-illegal or whatever anti-cop attack. That was where my mind went. The first thing I thought of when I heard about this New York scenario was, oh God, here we go. They're trying to set up another 9/11. I told you the other day just about the Iranians getting caught trying to come over the Vermont border. I told you a week ago about Iran saying that we're going to retaliate against the United States. Okay. Low tech still works. But that's how we've been conditioned with all the craziness that goes on in the world, with all the hatred that other people have for the way this country operates. Everybody else's idea is better. The world must become Islam. Death to America. Defund the police. We must become communist. Democrat socialism is the only way. Go out and get in their face in the streets. Pick one, okay? These are all things that foreign leaders, foreign citizens, our politicians are saying to stoke hatred. And it gets to a point where everything you look at is worrisome. Because now we don't know yet. But the first thing you think about is, oh crap, here's another lunatic who just killed 3 people in Los Angeles, or could have killed hundreds of people in New York. Don't know if that's the case. But that's where our mind goes. That's how we've been conditioned, trained to think about these people. Because there are so many lunatics in this world at this point. We used to have insane asylums that we put these people in. It's time we bring them back so we can get back to letting the kids ride their bicycles around the neighborhood when they're 7 or 8 years old. Now you wouldn't let them go out in the front yard unless you're sitting watching them. We need to get to the point where the teenagers could go hang out at the restaurant and have a burger and fries with their girlfriend or their boyfriend without worrying about them getting kidnapped and sold as sex slaves somewhere. We need to be able to walk into a store or a bank and not worry about it possibly getting shot up. This is the world we live in. This is the world hatred, liberalism, communism creates. It's time we get back to values like we had, I'll say the 1950s. The nuclear family, dad at home, a economy where a family can operate on one income, where people actually had some courtesy and some decorum, didn't wear their pajamas to Walmart, open a door for a lady, or help an elderly person put their groceries in the car. We need to go back to those days. I don't know what it's going to take, but all I know is the way we're going is not sustainable. Because, as I said a week or so ago, everything's just going to get ramped up and ramped up and ramped up until something finally really goes off. And that's when you're not going outside, not with a gun on your hip, but a gun in your hand, because that's what it's going to take to get to the bottom of your driveway. Pinball out.